Good evening, sports fans. It's me, Sports Maniac, or aka Chris Zimmerman. I am here today to discuss the NFL news and conference championships. It is going to be quite an interesting week as we have the Buccaneers against the Packers at Lambeau Field, and we have the Bills against the Chiefs. Now, we will also talk about the news articles between Philip Rivers is retiring. Matthew Stafford and the Lions are separate parting ways as in trading parting ways. And also, who will take the Texans' new head coaching job? Anyway, here we go to start with the first game of the conference championships, Buccaneers versus the Packers. The Buccaneers have had to go through a lot of adversity, going through having an 11-5 season with a lot of the losses being twice to the Saints, but they did beat the Saints in the divisional round. And a lot of it has been getting a lot of retired guys or these older guys or these superstars to just reunite, being Brady going to the Buccaneers, them still trying to figure out a run game, them having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and then adding Antonio Brown mid through the season. Now, Antonio Brown will be out with an injury. The Buccaneers have also had to get Gronk and then get this whole defense straightened out. They've been just very inconsistent. Now, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers have put up a good fight through the playoffs, beating the Washington football team and beating the Saints with Drew Brees. Now, the Packers have looked good pretty much all year. Yes, the Buccaneers did beat the Packers 38-10, I believe, the first meeting, which was a butt whooping, which pretty much Aaron Rodgers didn't play good. The rest of their team didn't play good. The Buccaneers just fired-powered them and took the game winning. Now, the Packers have looked very good in the playoffs, beating the Rams 32-18, which that game did. Aaron Rodgers looked comfortable. Aaron Rodgers looked good, like he has pretty much all season, except for that Buccaneers game. Aaron Rodgers is looking to pretty much get the MVP this year, since Mahomes did get hurt, but he will also be back. Did pass concussion protocol. The Packers do have a run game. Now, that pass game, Aaron Rodgers makes everybody look good, and nobody can say that. And nobody can really comment about that because, yes, they have Devontae Adams, but he's had to bring up a lot of players that really are nobodies. I mean, even Robert Toyon. Toyon is their starting tight end. No, hardly any of us knew who he was, and this year he began to play in and start getting things right and fitting into that organization. Now, the big question is, will Tom Brady retire after this? I don't think so. Yes, I'm a Colts fan, and we don't like Tom Brady, but I don't think Tom Brady's going to quit till he gets one more ring. Now, the big question is, to a lot of us, will Aaron Rodgers get a ring? Will he get a ring and then retire? That's the big question, because a lot of these older quarterbacks on the NFC side, Brady's looking for his seventh. Aaron Rodgers is looking for his second, which, yes, here the Go Pack Go has kind of been a big thing the last 2 or 3 years since they've been really good with Matt LaFleur as their head coach. He's a very good head coach. But on the other side, you can't second-guess Bruce Arians in that team, especially with a veteran quarterback and as good as a head coach as Bruce Arians is. Now, the big question, also another big question to that is, How will these defenses play out? The Packers have had a good pass rush with the Smith brothers on each side and Kenny Clark and these different playmakers. Now on the other side, you have Dominican Sue. You have a bunch of these other guys with a shaky, my opinion, a shaky secondary. Their secondary is not well known, but they've been getting plays done. Now, the next question is how will Levante David and Devin White play together? They've been very inconsistent. Devin White's been finally figuring it out there in Tampa and just being able to show and make plays. Now, we will go on to the next game, Bills and Chiefs. That game is going to be either a very high scoring game or a very low scoring game. The Bills just didn't look themselves last week against the Baltimore Ravens, which only put up 3 points, and yes, the Bills did only put up 17, which in today's world it's very weird seeing a low scoring game, especially with how this season has been going with COVID-19 and all this stuff, having to rearrange schedules and all these other things. This season's been kind of weird seeing our first Tuesday night games and our first Wednesday night games due to COVID-19 and all this stuff. Now, playing in Arrowhead's always hard no matter how the crowd is. Playing in Buffalo's the same way, just like playing in Lambeau. They're all big, loud stadiums. Arrowhead's loud no matter what. As we all know, they're one of the hardest stadiums to play at. Buffalo, Phillip Rivers and the Colts saw that week in the wild card. It's very hard to play in Buffalo. Buffalo's been really wanting a Super Bowl again, or at least to win one, since them making it 4 straight years in the 90s and losing them all 4 straight. They really want one. They want one bad. Now, the Buccaneers haven't made the playoffs in years and haven't made to the NFC Championship since 2000 and I believe 2002 or 2003. They really are looking for this victory. Tom Brady would love another Super Bowl, as we all know, but Josh Allen has really looked good this season. That passing game has looked good. Now, Devin Singletary will be taking most of the carries since Zach Moss is on injury reserve. Gabriel Davis is questionable, and so is Vernon Butler, their defensive tackle, is questionable. Now, for the Chiefs on injury-wise, Patrick Mahomes did clear concussion protocol. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is questionable. Sammy Watkins is questionable. Le'Veon Bell's questionable. A lot of those guys are playmakers. Le'Veon Bell, yes, he's fallen off the cliff since taking that year off because he didn't like his contract with the Steelers. He just hasn't looked himself at all. And Sammy Watkins, since it's kind of a redemption game since he was on the Bills, now he's just got to find it. And if he comes back and if he is able to start this game, have a big game. But I think it's going to be a big Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and a Tyreek Hill show if that Bills defense can stop them. Now, Patrick Mahomes has shown that he can do anything in pressure. Patrick Mahomes shows that he can really do anything, but I still don't consider him a great quarterback because he is still at the age of 25. He's a good quarterback, just like Josh Allen is a good quarterback. The great ones are like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in this. They already have Hall of Fame records and all this stuff, and they're set. They're ready to go. I would like to see the Chiefs and the Packers. I don't know if that's going to happen, just because who knows what Patrick Mahomes is going to be like. Who knows how the Bills are going to, go up against the Chiefs. Who knows what the Bucs are going to do to the Packers. That's what I like about the NFL. You just don't know. I mean, it may be you may be going up against the best team, not have your off game and have your off game and still win. The playoffs are very unpredictable since it is a one game, one and done. Pretty much one game, you play your hearts out And then if you win, you go on to the next game. That's what I love about the NFL. Now, I did question at the beginning of the playoffs why they added one extra team to each side. Me being a Colts fan, it was very close how the Dolphins could have made it had we lost to the Jaguars. Who knows? Now, the big news that we all kind of have been looking at recently has been the Phillip Rivers news. I do believe it was Wednesday, Phillip Rivers did retire after good years with the San Diego Chargers and the one good year with the Colts. I was sad. I was very devastated when I did see him retire. Now, I think Phillip Rivers still had at least one more year with him, in him. Now, the question is, what will the Colts do? Will the Colts stick with Jacoby Brissett or go to Carson Wentz, which Carson Wentz, I don't know. I think he still has a little bit to show, but since that ACL tear back in I do believe it was 18. Since that ACL tear in the MVP season, he just hasn't looked the same. He's looked very shaky. He even got sacked 60 times in just 13 games. I mean, that's uncalled for. I think any quarterback, honestly, would love to go to a team with the offensive line as the Colts or, a lot of these teams that don't have quarterbacks but have a great offensive line like the Colts do and a bunch of these other different teams. Now, the big question is, will the Colts trade for Matthew Stafford? I mean, we just got the news today that the Lions and the Detroit Lions are willing to part ways, whether it's with a trade or it's with these other things. Who knows? I think the Jets want to start with a big scratch, start fresh, make that. I think the Jaguars are also in the same boat. I don't know. I mean, yes, everybody wants a veteran quarterback because they want to have that veteran mindset and they want to be able to say, hey, let's build around this guy. Just like the Buccaneers did with Tom Brady, just like the Colts tried to with Phillip Rivers, and just like the Las Vegas Raiders tried to do with Derek Carr. Put a veteran quarterback with a bunch of good receivers. Now, in my opinion, the Raiders should have gone with a more veteran process. They did draft 2 rookie wide receivers and that stuff, and I don't know. I really would love to see Matthew Stafford in Indy. I would love to see him, playing good on a successful team. Matthew Stafford I consider him an all-time great on a crappy team. Just like Matt Ryan, they're questioning if Matt Ryan, if he's going to leave or not. Matt Ryan has shown greatness since his Boston College days, and that's a little bit before my time. I was little, but I wasn't a big college football fan, of course, till I was about 8, 9, 10 years old. Now, another question is, what will the Texans do with the head coaching job? As we know, Bill O'Brien did get fired halfway through the season. Romeo Crennel has done head coaching jobs in the past, showed that he has been in the NFL long enough to put up enough wins. Now, I did think it was very stupid of them to trade that pick a while ago for Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil really he was a good offensive lineman, but I didn't think that they should have traded 2 first-rounders and a few others for this, because now the Dolphins have a good pick in the draft, and the Dolphins are able to get more firepower on that offense to give Tua. Who knows if Ron Fitzpatrick's going to start? Who knows? He may be a Josh McCown kind of guy where he was a role player. He was a practice squad player just to teach some of the younger guys. Now, that does bring up a good point to a part of the Texans organization the Texans are looking at Josh McCown as a head coaching position, which is a very interesting position because Josh McCown just kind of retired from the NFL. And I think that he should go to a college organization, or at least be like Kellen Moore and be an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach or something like that first. So he can at least have some NFL experience coaching wise. But also a big name that I was actually happy to see was Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell, it was a pretty good coach. I mean, yes, he was with the Colts for 3 years, I believe, before the Chuck Pagano era, which was successful for 3 years before we finally fired him. But Jim Caldwell was a great coach with Peyton Manning those 2 years that they made it. Went to a Super Bowl back in 2009. They did lose to the Saints. That's the one ring Drew Brees has. But I think Jim Caldwell would be a great pickup, honestly, because he's got all the experience. He's everything you want in a coach, and he's very wise and smart with his play calling. Now, that would also be a great help for Deshaun Watson in building that offense up again. Yes, Deshaun Watson wants out. That's another big hoorah, kind of a thing that nobody knows. I mean, Deshaun Watson could go to the Colts for a first rounder. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that just because, he's with the Texans, but I don't think that's going to happen just because I think we're going to go with a more veteran quarterback, guy with an arm. We haven't looked really at a rookie since Andrew Luck, and even since Peyton Manning. Andrew Luck, excuse me, sorry for yawning, Andrew Luck we haven't gone to a rookie since Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was among one of the highest recruits in his class in the NFL draft. And I just think that we're going to keep getting veteran quarterbacks until, somebody comes up that we might tank for. Because a lot of these teams who want to rebuild want to tank, drop everybody, get a bunch of money, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have $80 million to spend. And the first pick of the draft, the Jets have $62 million with the second pick of the draft. Who knows how that's going to come up? Now, another question is, what will the offseason have to take? How many guys are going to get cut just because COVID-19 and new governments and all this stuff, government officials and all this stuff? If we quarantine, the economy will shut down again, and who knows how much budgets have had to change just because not having fans in the stands, not having, concessions, food, and all that stuff to run the program. I personally, and also another question is, how many people will be in the Super Bowl? I mean, how many fans will they let in the stadium? Just because I know that if it's the Bills going to the Super Bowl, and if it's the Buccaneers going to the Super Bowl, that stadium will be packed. Yes, COVID-19 rules probably wouldn't allow it, but I know those stadiums will be packed just because those two teams haven't seen a Super Bowl. I mean, the Bills haven't seen a Super Bowl since the 90s. The Buccaneers haven't seen a Super Bowl since the early 2000s, since they beat the Raiders. I mean, who knows? Now that I've discussed this, I'm now going to do my predictions for the games. I personally think that for the Bucks and the Packers, I think the Packers are going to win, but I think it's going to be a very, very close game. If it's not, it's because one offense overpowers the other. I don't think defense is really going to be a thing. Even though I know this may sound like a low-scoring game, with the score of 30-24 Packers, I think that the defenses will not really be a thing. I think Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady is going to throw one pick each just because it's going to be either a balanced game or it's going to be one or the other, gunslinger or rushing. Now, on the other side of the conference, which would be the AFC Championship game, I think the Chiefs will slightly beat the Bills out just because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you don't see somebody like him, which Tony Romo will be harping on. Tony Romo will be harping on Patrick Mahomes like he always does, but it's because Tony Romo wishes that he was Patrick Mahomes, had the success like Mahomes did. And Tony Romo had a good career, but it just didn't end the way that he would have liked it to end. Now, I do think the Bills will put up an excellent fight. The Bills The Bills will be putting up an excellent fight. Like I said before, Josh Allen will carry that team on his back if he darn near has to, like he did against the Colts. Running the ball off like crazy, passing the ball like crazy with those astonishing receivers. Now, you will have to double cover Stephon Diggs, which it's hard to cover Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. Those are three guys on both teams that are just good, hard to defend. They know what they're doing in the NFL, but that's also going to be a thing with the Packers, with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Those are going to be hard to defend, and Devontae Adams with the Packers. I mean, Devontae's putting up 18 touchdowns and shows that he's a top 3 receiver in the NFC and possibly the top 5, in my opinion, in the NFL, for sure. Now, what do you guys think? If you would like to drop comments for score predictions. Also, if you guys haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, just so then you guys can get a notification whether I post or comment or, anything like that. And also, guys, don't be afraid to comment suggestions like top 10s of each team or top 10 quarterbacks of all time. Or don't be afraid to ask for baseball or college football or all-time NBA players. I don't do NBA much since today's NBA has kind of, gone downhill, too political for that. But if you guys would, just please drop comments and show support, guys. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a safe evening. And please watch the games and enjoy possibly the last 3 weeks of NFL, whether since it's the championship game, then the Pro Bowl, then the Super Bowl, then the season's over. Just enjoy, and hope you guys have a safe one, and I should be back within, the next few days, talking about the recap and just enjoying talking with you guys through the camera and just enjoying it. Anyway, thank you guys. Good night.